It's time to sell your house. Now, really. Stay tuned and I'll tell you why. We've hit a bit of a tipping point in residential real estate, and let me make the standard disclaimer here that I'm not a lawyer, an accountant, or financial advisor. I'm a licensed real estate agent here in Los Angeles with Douglas Elliman, working out of our Pasadena and Newport Beach offices. And I'm coming at it from that perspective, so talk to those other qualified experts for all this works for you. That out of the way. If you're on the fence about putting your house on the market right now, whether that's because you've outgrown it or the kids have moved on or you hate it or the politics don't work for you, this is the time to put it on the market. Why? There's a huge lack of inventory. Now, you may be sitting on super low interest rates, so you're thinking you don't want to give it up, and the reality is you're not the only one. In fact, that's why there are so few houses out for sale right now. It's brought the numbers down so much. We're actually 45% lower right now than we would normally be at this time of year compared to the pre-pandemic days. Let me add to that. By some estimates, we would need 3.5 million more housing units than are available now in the state of California by 2025 just to be back to a semi-normal market. And that's even with some of the people who are supposedly moving out of state that get all the press. In other words, the market is screwed. But that's to your advantage if you want to sell. I talked in previous podcasts about how bad the reporting is generally about housing market economics, and that's still true. The stories focus on the bad and that nobody can afford to buy, and the inventory numbers are creeping back up, so it starts to sound like you have to wait till things stabilize, but that's exactly what you shouldn't do. For one thing, nobody knows what's going to happen next year. There's a crystal ball on the shelf right here behind me, and you know what it tells me? Nothing. Just like 3 years ago, nobody expected the pandemic to cause housing crisis to skyrocket. And in fact, when it was first announced, I was on Zoom call after Zoom call after Zoom call, where all the discussion was about how we wouldn't be able to sell houses again and before we all ran out of money. And instead, the market exploded. This year, nobody expected the war in Ukraine to basically negate most of the economic stimulus that had already been done. That was a challenge in and of itself. And then this week's attack on Israel, it's a frightening reminder of just how short life is. And, sometimes we need to just take stock in things and get serious about what we want in our lives. And let's also put it in perspective that we're talking about taking advantage of our prosperity while there are people being killed in the streets in other parts of the world. Not to bring the mood down here, but, things could be a lot worse than the fact that the housing market's a little tricky. There are so many doom and gloom discussions that it's easy to forget just how lucky we are. And with all the problems we have in this country these days, on the whole, we have it a lot better than most. So, why sell now? This is October when I'm recording, and right now, to me, is one of the best times to prepare to list a house for sale. That 45% drop in inventory is actually a huge benefit, and that doesn't last forever. By the time spring rolls around, more homes will start to come back on the market, and you'll have more competition for buyers. So while you may be thinking you don't want to have people coming through your house during the holidays for showings and all that, the reality is that the holiday decorations and, whatever the faith or style, whatever it is, it reminds buyers that a house is a home. Just be smart and don't leave the Tiffany and Cartier bags under the tree, because that's tempting things a little too far. Much of the news these days is focusing on how few people can afford to buy a home. And that's because of the current market rates and all the other stuff. In fact, it's mostly what they talk about is the current interest rates. So yes, the higher rates have shrunken the buyer pool. But there are still buyers who are shopping, and the buyers who are shopping right now, they're the serious ones. They're the ones who either need to move for some reason, or they are sitting in cash, or they're just super well qualified. Nobody's out there as looky-loos right now. In fact, I did open houses the last couple of weekends, and one of the things I've noticed, it's been kind of a strange little weird phenomenon that I keep tracking of data, is that I don't get the looky-loos. I don't get the neighbors walking in, coming in, looking at stuff. What we're getting is serious buyers. The only people who are coming in are serious. And I'm not saying do open houses during the holidays. In fact, I would recommend against that unless the house is basically already been moved out of. If you're going to move out of the house and move anyway, that's a different story. I've actually done open houses on Thanksgiving Day for all the people who don't want to see their families too soon. They could stop off at the open house. Did really, really well with that one. It actually went into offer the next day and sold. So there are reasons why you do and don't do certain things. During the holidays, you have presents and stuff in the house. No, you want anybody who's coming in to actually, be escorted by an agent. That's really important. But the people who are coming in, like I said, they're well qualified. They're ready to buy now. They're not just kicking the tires. Back at the height of the pandemic market, we were seeing everybody was rushing in trying to buy, and you were seeing people make all these multiple offers all over and grabbing whatever they could because it was so hard to buy a house. But some of my escrow officer friends would tell me that as many as 30% of deals were falling apart at one point. And the reason that was happening, there's always a few deals that fall apart because of stuff that comes up in inspections or whatever. But people were rushing to get into offer and rushing to get a contract signed. But before the deal would close, there's a waiting period, basically. There's the inspection period where you have to go through the house. Well, basically, it's pretty much an excuse to get out under whatever. I mean, it's pretty hard to go after trying to prove someone was doing it in bad faith when they drop out, as long as it's during the inspection period. So you were seeing a lot of offers, they're making the offer and then dropping out. And you don't really want that. You want serious buyers who are going to stay in the deal. Well, that's the kind of buyer that's out there in the market right now. So it is a good time for sale from that perspective. A lot of agents will also tell you it's okay to wait till next year or wait till the spring. And, they say that's because the market's busiest. Well, one, that's silly because you don't want to be there when the market's busiest, because that also means there's more houses on the market. It's not just the fact that there's more buyers, there's more houses. And you are also getting a larger amount of competition trying to get those same buyers to buy your house. And we're not going to see this giant influx of qualified buyers. We'll just see more people who would like to be buyers by the time that comes around. So it's much more practical to be on the market when you're dealing with a tighter, and more controllable buyer pool. I also, taking my cynical approach that I can't help doing sometimes. I did work in news for a long time. There's just a lot of lazy agents who are going to go on vacation during the whole holiday period and aren't going to do much work, and they don't care. Fine, they can do that. But the reality is the business is there. It's just a little harder to do the deals from the agent side during this period because you actually have to work hard. And, those of us who don't mind working hard are perfectly happy to do whatever is necessary. Don't get me wrong. If you're watching this and you're not in Southern California where the weather is beautiful all year round, if you're watching this in Wisconsin or Minnesota or somewhere, you're snowed in. Give your agents a break. Let them go be snowbirds in Arizona for the month and enjoy themselves because not a whole lot transacts in snow country. But where we are, it's an all-year market. The seasons are basically football season, baseball season, basketball season. It's not snow season and rain season. It just comes down to you just have to sometimes say it's time to do something. There's an old adage, fortune favors the brave, and the brave are going to put their houses on the market right now, and they're going to do really well with it because all of the economics and all of the timing are in favor of the people who do this. It's a short inventory market, and the ones who will take action, they're going to be the ones who win, and you're going to get top dollar for your home, and you're going to be in position to do whatever you want during the coming year. One of the things that I hear people say is we don't know where we're going to live, we don't know where we're going to go. Yeah, but at the same time, there's nothing really wrong with renting for a year while you decide on what you're going to do. Yes, it's taking costs up, but it's only the cost difference between what your appreciation would have been and your cost of what your home is at the time. And you're going to make so much more money if you're sitting on equity. When you compare this to 2019 before the pandemic was, prices have almost doubled in most of these areas. So if it's costing you a few $1,000s extra over the cost of the year, don't worry about it. Just move on. Take the win. Take the win. Little side note, if you happen to have a property in the $5 to $10 million range, and it's in LA County, Orange County, Ventura County possibly. And it's not in the city of LA. The city of LA has got this weird mansion tax, and then most people who already have property in this situation already know about it. But if you're someone who is thinking maybe I should sell my house in Pasadena, where I am, or San Marino, right next to us, or Calabasas, our old neighborhood, or Newport Beach, my other old neighborhood where I also have an office. These houses are hugely in demand right now because the higher property is trading at a better rate because people are not being told as they buy that they're going to be subject to a 5% extra tax when they resell. And that will basically take out any of the profits they make. And that's becoming kind of a big issue throughout LA. So if you're in an area that's not city of LA and you want to talk about how that might be of benefit to you if you're thinking about possibly selling and cashing out, it's a really good time. You may be getting a little bit of an extra bump because we're just in this first year of this new tax. So if you're in any of those markets, want to talk about it, this obligation, just give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. And I or one of the team can advise you in any of the markets surrounding here. If it's not one of the ones I particularly focus on, I'll bring in one of the other folks that knows those specific areas well, and you still get my 30 years of marketing and media. Anyway, if you're selling in the greater LA area, especially past either of the valleys, reach out, see if we're a good fit. My contact info is in the show notes. So remember, it's a good time to sell. Don't be afraid to go ahead and go for it, because this is one of those rare little windows where we know what's going to happen a little bit. We have a pretty good, solid concept of where the market is right now. We don't know what's going to happen next year. It's an election year. This is likely to be a really goofy election year. We don't know what's going to happen, so we don't know what that's going to do to the economy. We don't know what the infighting is going to do, and we don't know what's happening in the rest of the world. All we can control is what's happening around us right now locally, and this is the time, if you know that you can make the changes you want to make in your life, if you sell this house, this is the time to do it. I welcome your thoughts in the comments down below. Remember to subscribe, and have a great week.